Coming up shortly, but remember the bulletin is streaming live on 3news.com as well as DSTV channel 279. Please stay. This is Media Live. Let's start with one of our headline stories. And pressure group Occupy Ghana is calling for an independent police investigation into the bribery scandal that has hit Parliament's Appointments Committee. Energy Minister Boakye Ejiakor has been accused by Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga for doling out 3,000 Ghana cedis each to minority MPs serving on the Appointments Committee, so as to influence their decision in his favor as far as approving his nomination was concerned. Now, in a statement, Occupy Ghana said they want an independent police investigation into the damning allegations and a no-hold-barred criminal prosecution of anyone found to be on the wrong side of the Ghanaian law in this scandalous development. But this afternoon, we're asking if the police service has the capacity to undertake this very investigation, which is being called for by the Occupy Ghana group. And I do have in the studio, I have been joined by a familiar face, George Kojoenti. He's a leading member of Citizens Ghana movement, and we're looking at the alleged bribery allegation in Parliament. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Wendy.
And thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Now, first of all, what do you make of what's happening?
Well, I think it's scandalous. It's very, very scandalous. Either way you look at it, if you want to look at it as resulting in a case where a member of parliament told blatant lies, it's scandalous. And it's as equally scandalous as if you look at the other side of the coin, that if it eventually turns out that indeed members of parliament are taking monies on the side to perform their public duties, duties for which they are paid, it is equally scandalous. So whichever way this issue turns out, I think it is going to leave a permanent scar on Parliament. I have heard some people say that, look, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak coming out to say that this is not true, he has never given any money to anybody from anybody, should put this matter to rest. But I think that, as the saying goes, there's no smoke without fire. This is not the first time we're hearing that Parliament is engaged in these corrupt acts. Indeed, the second deputy speaker said at in some time past that the members of Parliament take monies, before they even pass bills into law, and we don't know where that matter ended up. And we've gone around full circle. We've come back, and these allegations are rearing their ugly heads again. And we must not allow it to be swept under the carpet this time. We need to get to the bottom of this. If it's a member of parliament who has gone out blatantly to defame people and tell lies, then some of us think that he is not fit to be there, together with all those who have supported him to tell this lie. If it turns out also that these members of parliament have been collecting these monies under the desk, we want to ask ourselves, for how long has this been going on? And what can we do to root this canker out? These are the people who are making laws for us.
Now, in building up to what you said regarding what can be done to root this canker out, do you think the police should probe this matter, be one of the entities to probe this matter? I
think that it's well within their mandate, because bribery and corruption are two things that have been criminalized, under our laws. And indeed, the president made a pledge that in fighting corruption, he was going to raise the level of that crime from a misdemeanor to a felony, and thereby ensuring that more stringent punishments will be attached to this offense. So I don't see why the police cannot, do
you think they have the capacity?
Capacity, yes. Capacity,
You're confident of that?
Yes. I mean, I do trust the Ghana Police Service. But we also need to look at this other side. Is that the only option? I would recommend that Parliament should have an independent committee. It might be a bipartisan committee that will look into this and they should hold public hearings.
Okay.
Their hearings should be broadcast live for everybody to see and hear what is happening, just as we had in the Supreme Court case, the election petition. Let us all hear what is happening. Let us see what is happening. It's a way by which Parliament can restore the confidence that seems to be waning, you know, and then bring it back. Right. But short of that, we heard the Shraj boss yesterday say that if Parliament doesn't do anything, Shraj might also want to look into that.
Let me just hold you there before we even delve into what has come up with Shraj. But we're heading still on this very same issue. We're heading straight to the Ashanti region, but I'm told we don't have that feed yet. It's a live feed from Kumasi, where my colleague Kofi Domfe will be speaking with Reverend Dr. Kwadwo Osei-Wusu. He's a board member of the Ghana Integrity Initiative on this very issue, on alleged bribery allegation in Parliament. So, George, you were talking about Shraj.
Yes, and the point that the Shraj boss made yesterday, I listened to him, was that they do have the power. Indeed, the act that brought them into force gives them that power to suo motu on their own motion, look into this matter. So we don't even need someone to go and report. You know,
but
Shraj
do you think that our institutions are really slow when it comes to taking action on some of these issues?
I think so. I think so. I think as a people, we have condoned certain acts that seem to have political coloring. So the moment some act seems to have some political coloring to it, we are slow. It happens with the police, it happens with several other public bodies. This time it's Parliament, and luckily it affects both sides. Okay. So, like I have said, this is an opportunity for Parliament to purge itself and also win back the confidence of many Ghanaians.
Let me just pause you there and go back to the Ashanti region. We now have a feed, and Kofi Domfe, my colleague, will be speaking with a board member of Ghana Integrity Initiative. Over to you, Kofi.
By an anti-corruption crusader, Reverend Dr. Kwadwo Osei-Wusu, who is a board member of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, to throw more light on this issue. Good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you for joining us. First of all, do you get the sense that as a country, we're getting serious with this whole issue of bribery allegation that has rocked Parliament?
Well, this is a very serious and very sad occurrence that are happening to our country, especially coming closely after great elections, and then the pronouncement of the president's anti-corruption stand. It's become a sore thing, especially when it has to deal with Parliament. And I believe that the way we need to go about it, as you were saying, is now the issue. I think there have been suggestions. I heard Occupy Ghana suggesting that it should be given to the police. I don't know how the police can handle that. But my personal belief is that in Ghana, very few people have integrity. I will have no problem saying that. And with the police, I wouldn't advocate for that. Because especially when there's a change in government, there's people are on tenterhooks. Some are afraid to be transferred, some are afraid to be sacked, and it affects the police also. And this issue has political undertones. So it's becoming a hell of a problem. Parliament itself is immune, and the presidency cannot venture into that place to command anything to be done. I would suggest that if Parliament is serious about cleaning themselves up and defending their integrity, since this thing has been happening, as we have related so many times since this thing came up, I would think that Parliament will have to submit themselves for scrutiny. Nobody can command them, nobody can do that, but for their own good, I would suggest that Parliament will submit itself and constitute a committee or investigative committee made up of prominent people in the Ghanaian society.
But how can we be certain that we still have these, as you raise the issue, people lack integrity? Can we get individuals that really possess this integrity you're talking about to constitute a committee to probe this issue?
As for that, I am very sure we have. We have people like VC, RAC, Crab, Green Street. There are prominent people whom we can vouch that when they sit and interview people, they will not be scared in any way, because they are people who are independent-minded. They are people who have made it up themselves, you see. But if you take it to the police, there's a lot of problems.
That doesn't mean that we can no longer trust our state institutions like STRAJ, the police, the BI, among others, to really go deep into these levels of investigation to bring a solution to the challenges.
It's not a problem that we can no longer trust them, but whether we can really put trust, because we know that all these institutions need to be overhauled. They need to be reviewed and re-engineered in a way that we will be sure that when you put something before them, because look at Parliament itself. If Parliament is where this thing is happening, where again do we look for people of integrity? So I think that the institutions are there, but there's the fact that most of our institutions cannot be relied upon, you see, because of the political influences that are going on for years.
Did you have the confidence that this issue of bribery allegation that has been leveled against some members of the Parliament Appointment Committee would indeed be brought to an end?
As for bringing it to an end, it has to come, because it cannot be forever. But how to bring it to an end? It will only happen if Parliament itself submit itself to scrutiny. If they think that they can sit down in camera and do that, then it will not come to an end. They need to submit themselves to an outside body that all Ghanaians can trust. And then at the end of it, whatever they bring out, I think people will believe that it is the truth.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking to Reverend Dr. Kojo Osei-Owusu, who is an anti-corruption crusader and a board member of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. My name is Kofi Edudum, for reaching you from Kumasi. Over to you, Wendy, in the studio.
Very much indeed, Kofi Dumfe. Now, back to the studio here with George Kojo. And George, we did hear Reverend Dr. Kojo Osei-Owusu. He made some assertions quite similar to what you said about sitting in camera, not doing their own thing, but having some other persons scrutinize their work. Is this the way to go, really?
Like I said, the options are many. But if you ask me for my preference, the one that would purge Parliament the most will be for Parliament itself to conduct this inquiry. And it should be done in the full glare of the public. Everybody should see what is going on. Remember that, I mean, not too long back, a similar scandal rocked the judiciary. And we saw the steps that were taken. They were swift, they were decisive, they were punitive. And, you know, some months down the line, gradually we're restoring confidence back into the judiciary. Parliament needs to do a similar thing. We need to see that they are not going to condone this, whether it's on the side of the majority or the minority. We elected them to make laws. Now,
one of the options you gave was for the police to handle this, but Reverend believes that there are some political undertones when it comes to public institutions and all that. That point's made very clear because you all have different views to it. Yeah. But going forward, as an anti-corruption institution, what would you intend doing for this matter to be put to an end? What contribution would you make?
Well, Wendy, aside from keeping the conversation going, which is something that we are bent on doing because this matter must not die, and we'll make sure that this matter does not die. It's not going to die a natural death. quite apart from that, there are many options that are open. People have petitioned the Speaker. Some members have petitioned the Speaker. The difficulty here is that Parliament is said to be the master of its own rules. But where criminality comes in, you cannot oust the jurisdiction of the police to investigate. So whoever we must petition, we will petition. Okay. And if we talk to our lawyers and it's possible to even take some of these matters to court in the public interest, we will.
All right, then. Thank you very much, George Kojo NT. He is a leading member of Citizen Ghana Movement, and we're looking at the alleged bribery allegation in Parliament. You're still watching Media Live. Let's still look at issues related to Parliament, and some anti-corruption campaigners have called for an independent inquiry into the alleged bribery of a minority by the Minister of Energy, Boakye Ejiako. They have implored on the Speaker of Parliament to sanction those who will be found culpable after the findings of the committee.
Member of Parliament for Boku Central, Mahama Yariga, on Friday, January 27, alleged Energy Minister-designate Boakye Ejiako, whose approval as a minister had been frozen pending the determination of certain issues, gave out 3,000 cedis as bribe to each of the minority members on the committee to influence them to approve his nomination. Mahama Yariga claimed the money was given to committee chairman Joe Osewusu by Mr. Ejiako, who in turn channeled it through minority chief whip Muntaka Mubarak to the MPs, who, according to the Boku Central MP, subsequently rejected it. However, all the actors he mentioned in the bribery saga have denied the allegation. The Ghana Integrity Initiative has called on the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, to conduct an independent investigation.
Parliament will not be a judge in their own matter, because already we get a sense that if they investigate, their position cannot. We'll be surprised if it's different from what the Public Affairs Director has put out. So we would want independent investigators to go into this matter, and anybody found culpable should be dealt with.
The co-chair for the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Tony Dogbe, is of the view the investigations should allow Ghanaians to share their experiences.
I think it should be fair on the Parliament, okay, if they really want to get to the bottom of it, okay, and clear that credibility gap that is being created. Okay, they should do their own investigation, but in a transparent and open manner. Okay, so that citizens can appear, okay, before that committee.
Some sections of the public have called on the president to withdraw the appointment of Boakye Ejiako as the Minister of Energy, but the Ghana Integrity Initiative disagrees.
I wouldn't jump quickly to say that the Honourable should be sacked or he should step down. If you want to step down, good for the nation. But we will call for proper investigations to be conducted. And the investigation we're talking about is the type that when it's conducted and completed, the report is made known to we, the ordinary people that we call ourselves Ghanaians.
In November 27, 2013, Member of Parliament for Dobin Brakwa, PC Apiofori, accused some members of Parliament of taking 5,000 cedis each as bribes to initiate bills on the floor of Parliament. Again, in March 13, 2014, MP for Nadoli Agban Bagbin also accused some members of Parliament in engaging in corrupt practices. On January 10 this year, a former Attorney General Martin Amidu criticized members of Parliament for allegedly taking monies from civil society groups before their concerns are carried onto the floor of Parliament. An anti-corruption campaign crusader, George Anti, is also calling on Parliament to investigate these corruption allegations.
The people who made the allegations have no proof to support the allegations that they have made. They must be punished. Members of Parliament must be made to understand that Parliament is a place of record, and they cannot get up and say things that they cannot prove. And if members of Parliament are also corrupt, they must be made to understand that you cannot be taking bribes and be sitting in Parliament representing the people.
Still watching Media Live. Away from the corruption issue, we look at one global issue which has become a global concern. That's decisions being taken by the U.S. President Donald Trump.
President Donald Trump went into election 2016 promising to sanitize its immigration policy and make sure all illegal migrants are deported. Exactly a week after assuming office, President Trump signed an executive order on Friday, January 27, freezing all refugees from Syria and banning entry to foreign nationals from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Nationals of Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria and Yemen would not be able to enter the U.S. in the next 90 days, except diplomats and green card holders. The decision was met with protest across the United States and the rest of the world. In Britain, some members of the House of Lords have already called for suspension of President Trump's state visit to the UK later this year, with 1 million people signing a petition in support. Analysts keep divided over the implications of this policy for international security. While President Trump argues that the action is solely intended to protect Americans from terrorism, the reverse effect could happen. American nationals and their properties could be subject of similar treatment based on the principle of reciprocity in diplomacy. The creation of the Islamic State and operations of the Al-Qaeda of the Islamic Maghreb operation in northern and western Africa have been described as fallout from the American invasion of Iraq in 2003. The role of the U.S. in the protracted Syria civil war and the circumstances surrounding the regime change in Libya and its aftermath, history and experience in global politics leave no doubt that an effort to subject refugees, displaced persons and victims of war to further harsh conditions are breeding grounds for terrorist activities. Though it may not have direct relation to Africa as a whole, the inclusion of 2 African countries, Somalia and Sudan, is enough cause for worry. Africa had been on the silent side in President Donald Trump's rhetoric in the run-up to the polls. Selection of the 7 countries, without Saudi Arabia, Pakistan and Afghanistan, remain a question yet to be answered. Announcing the plan, President Trump cited the attacks of September 11, 2001. However, none of the 19 hijackers who committed the attacks came from countries included in the suspension. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt and Lebanon, whose nationals made up of the 19, are left out in the list of banned countries. According to New America, terrorism-related cases in the United States since September 11 has been dominated by American-born citizens. U.S.-born citizens have been involved in 120 cases, naturalized citizens in 80, permanent residents in 43 cases. Refugees were involved in 6 cases, with illegal immigrants in just 5 cases. Critics of the policy argue that selection of the countries was influenced by the president's business interest.
So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to delve a lot more into this very issue regarding the U.S. measures that have been taken by President Donald Trump. And does it really have an effect on our country, Ghana, even though some African countries have been mentioned, and that has to do with Sudan, Somalia. And then let's look at some of the other countries involved here. And we have Libya, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and as well as Yemen. But I also do have a studio guest this afternoon who will have an interaction with me on this very issue. That's Sheikh Amer Shaibu. He's a spokesperson, National Chief Imam, Head, Islamic Education Unit of the Ghana Education Service. And let's take you back to that very executive order. What is this order about? It brings in a suspension of U.S. refugee admissions program for 120 days, indefinite ban on Syrian refugees and anyone arriving from 7 Muslim majority countries that, like I mentioned earlier on, Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen face a 90-day visa suspension, and some visa categories such as diplomats and the UN are not included in the suspension. And globally, there has been an outcry regarding this specific measure that has been taken by the President of the United States. And who are those affected? All travelers who have nationality or dual nationality of Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen are not permitted to enter the U.S. for 90 days or be issued an immigrant or non-immigrant visa. And this includes those who share dual nationality with allied countries, including the UK, that's the United Kingdom, although Canada has been told its dual nationals are not affected. So more on this very measure. And what is President Trump saying about this? He says, this is not a Muslim ban, as the media is falsely reporting. This is not about religion. This is about terror and keeping our country safe. Well, according to President Trump, the media is falsifying what the executive order has stated rightly, that this is not about religion, but it's about keeping their country safe. And like I mentioned earlier, I do have in the studio Sheikh Arimayao Shaibu, spokesperson, National Chief Imam, Head Islamic Education Unit of the Ghana Education Service. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for your time.
Thank you for
now let me start from where I took off, or ended, rather. We did hear President Trump saying that this is not a Muslim ban, as the media is falsely reporting. It is not about religion, but about terror and keeping America safe. What do you make of this?
Well, it sounds like a kind of a U-turn on the whole. Trump came with a mentality, and he did not mince words in his campaign messages. When I listened to him during his victory or inaugural speech, it sounded so conciliatory, and it gave hope that he was not going to be arbitrary or sound arbitrary in the way that he wants to deal with the issue. But now he categorizes certain countries that are necessarily Muslim countries that are known not to have a certain serious records of terrorism. It appears to me that Trump himself has not good appreciation of terrorism and what brings about terrorism and what to do to deal with it.
Sheikh, if I can cut you there, these countries that we've mentioned, yes, there have been some acts of terrorism, and we've seen some citizens of these countries go elsewhere to cause mayhem and chaos.
Right.
Now, he's mentioning rightly that it's about keeping his country safe. Other countries can do the same if they want to, and they've done their very own assessment. That was done before the government before his. That's Obama's administration, and now it's about implementing. Has he done wrong? Are you disappointed?
I think he has the option also to look at whatever policy or the regime before him wanted to do, because it is about the long-term peace of the world and the safety of America. The peace and the safety that we are talking about is not. It will sound myopic and selfish for any one country in the world to think about its peace and safety alone, and without understanding the logics of the process that takes to guarantee a global peace of the world. How can America feel safe if the rest of the world are not safe? And so for me, that's why I keep on saying that from the approach that Trump is adopting, I have a strong feeling that he comes with emotional prejudice. He does not have a full appreciation of terrorism, what it means, and how to deal with it.
Okay, now let's move to Ghana. And definitely we have some Ghanaians living in these 7 countries that are involved in this very situation. Now, how difficult will this be for them?
Well, except if they still harbor the inkling or the desire to want to travel to the U.S.
So you think they should totally forget about it for now?
Like as a Muslim in Ghana, if for one or two any other reason I'm banned from going to the U.S., what does it mean to me? I'm a citizen of my country. I have a country in which I'm so confident in. For me, the U.S. is not a Mecca for me as a Muslim. In other words, for me as a Muslim, if I have to travel to Saudi Arabia, it is because it is cardinal to my religious life. And if I miss it, I miss something spiritual and religious. But what about if I'm banned from going to the U.S.? What does it mean to me?
Is it that because you probably don't have any business doing there, or you don't have something of importance to you? That's why you freely talk about this. There's some who would argue against what you're saying.
Exactly. I know, because if people seek their survival in the US, and they think that that is the only way, the only country in which they can survive. And I think as human beings, we should be able to open up our horizon. There are still people who are surviving in other countries other than the US, and they are making it. And God did not make us as people to be restricted in our movement and our survival needs, the way we pursue them. So I think that we must be confident in ourselves. What I will propose to the US and to all world bodies is to continue the fight in the long term against terrorism. If you take Iran, if you take Syria, and all other Muslim countries that have been categorized, find out in those countries what percentage of the population of those countries are involved in terrorism. There are people in those same countries that are opposed to terrorism, and there are a lot of Muslims of the world that are opposed, like myself.
But do you think that even talking about opposing and those who are in favor of terrorism, have Muslims been quiet for far too long? That's how come this has happened?
Rather, contrary to that, we have been speaking.
Have you done enough?
A lot has been done. And they say that is the unfairness of the whole media approach to the whole thing. Very decent-minded, very well-enlightened Muslims have spoken in the strongest of their voice. Like myself in this country, I'm one of those that have been the loudest in talking about peace and so on and so forth. And I think that there are other Muslims who are doing same. There are presidents who have spoken and condemned, terrorism and terrorist activity. And I think that we need to give credit to such people, and then we also must be as inclusive as possible in head-on taking over the issue of terrorism. But to pass a judgment or sweeping judgment on the totality of a population, for me, is one of the most unfair things that we can do. And we should see. I have in dealing with terrorism in the long term. Terrorism has a behavioral element. And basic psychology will tell you, behavior is the product of interaction between environmental factors and hereditary factors. Now, put aside the hereditary factors and look at the environment. Take Libya, for example. Who is the cause of what happened? Who caused this flow of arms from Libya through a corridor to Mali, to Mauritania, to what do you call it, Niger, into the hands of Boko Haram? What is the state of post-Libyan regime, for example? And I think that if we can look broadly at these things and deal with it, Trump should not heighten the tensions of the world.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Arimayo Shaibu. He's a spokesperson, National Chief Imam, and then Head of Islamic Education Unit at the Ghana Education Service. We're looking at the U.S. President's ban, if it's really a fair deal for the Islamic community. You're still watching Midday Live, and the Korean government has donated equipment worth $70,000 for the establishment of a laparoscopic surgical project at the Ridge Hospital in Accra. Now, the laparoscopic surgery is a modern surgical technique performed far from its location through small incisions elsewhere in the body.
The project is to share knowledge and application of modern technology to enhance service delivery. It is also to strengthen competencies in surgery. Under the project, specialist doctors will be trained to improve on special procedures.
We also plan to run surgical skill education program and organize a study group for laparoscopic surgery and exchange program with universities and academic societies in South Korea.
Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ebenezer Piadinchra, was grateful for the support and requested that a skilled laboratory be attached to the unit to serve as a training center.
Because many people will want to come and learn, and we wouldn't want them to use the live body, but if they have something, a place where now they are learning, then we will learn. I also want to warn the videos that has been done, a lot of biliary surgery, renal surgery, a lot of things that have been done. If you have the video clips for the training center that you will develop, then a lot of people will come and learn.
The Greater Accra Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Linda Van Otu, appealed to the Korean government to collaborate more on maternal health. Laparoscopic surgery has become a preferred standard in various surgical procedures since its introduction in the 20th century. It has a number of advantages, including a reduction in pain and hemorrhaging due to the smaller incisions and shorter recovery times. The unit at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital will be the second after Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Still watching Midday Live, and we'll be heading shortly to the National Service Secretariat, where we're told that personnel are picketing there at the Secretariat for delays in payments of their allowance. My colleague AC Benewa is over there. She'll be joining us shortly with some live updates on what exactly is happening there. So you can see her in the shots, and a number of National Service personnel who are at the Secretariat, and she will speak to them, interact with them, and tell us what exactly their concerns are. But for the information we have here, they are worried about the delays in payments of their allowance. Over to you, Isi.
As I will put it, to demand for their salary allowance, they are saying that they haven't been paid from January, December last year and January this year, and they have been here through. I want to find out from one of the members who have picketed here. She is Priscilla, right? Yes. So we want to find out from you live. You are live on TV3 Midday Live. We want to find out from you what your issues really are.
Okay, our issue is this simple. Since December, we've not received our allowances. We've been to the Secretariat, the district office several times. They give us stories. Today you go, they will give you the story. Tomorrow it's another story. So now we don't want to rely on their stories again. We are here to demand for them to pay us our allowance because we've worked for it. We have worked and toiled. People pay cars from their house, pay 10 cedis a day, spend 10 cedis just to transport themselves to work, and then they are not being paid the little allowance that will sustain them. It is not fair. You are not being fair to us.
Well, early on we heard that you went to the regional headquarters. What were you told, and why are you here at this time?
We went to the regional secretariat and met one. What's the guy's name? There's a Lomote, one Lomote guy, and he told us we should, if we are not going to wait for them to do correct the error they went or whatever they went through, then we should come forward and come to the head office. That is why we decided to come to the head office. That is why we've decided to come to the head office, for them to know how serious we are. We depend on that money, so we need it. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so and here are the headquarters. Who have you met and what are they telling you?
We happen to meet our district director here, and she's telling us they've finalized everything. They are going to pay us from 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, banks have closed. So what is the evidence that they are going to pay us at the third time? I'm not sure they are going to do that because the stories are just too much. If they say they are going to pay us by 4, we want proof. They should just give us an evidence that 4 o'clock our pays are going to be paid. Then we will go. Tomorrow morning we just go to the bank and take our money.
Well, she should be seen playing a very critical role throughout the period. How has she been of help? And why aren't you convinced that by 4 o'clock actually you will receive your monies?
To be very honest with you, we've not heard anything since day one we started complaining. Since December, she has not come out to us to explain anything to us as to why up till now we've not been paid. So we don't think we should rely on her. That is why we went forward ourselves. We've decided not to rely on her. That's all.
Well, now she has told you that she has been in a meeting and she's saying that 4 o'clock. Why can't you trust her? Wait for 4 o'clock and then we see what happens. Let me speak to some of your members too.
Okay, because all the time, my name is Fido, by the way. All the time we have been going to the regional office, and then they'll ask us to sign, write our names and other stuffs. We sign, then they'll ask us to go, and they'll say they are working on it. Another time too, you come back, and the same story. So what I'm trying to say is that, meaning just lies. It's a lies that these people are telling us. Some people they have just used our money, and we ask one.
It's a procedure, and definitely it will take time.
This man told us, one of the secretariats told us that there was a problem somewhere. We asked him, we asked him what is the error, whether he can further explain it to us so that we will believe him. But he was not able to explain.
Let me get to one of your members and find out. So they said 4 o'clock. By 4 o'clock, if you don't see any sign of your money coming, what is the next line of action?
What they should understand is that we don't want this issue to repeat itself again. We are standing in for today and then the future to come. See this.
So by 4 o'clock, if you don't see the monies as they have promised you, what
we are
will
coming back. We are coming back. We are going through that procedure that we used to do before we came here. We are coming back. They sent us to the district. We went to the district to see to resolve the issue, and they couldn't able to tell us any relevant thing. Before we walked to the regional office, and the man also, we didn't even pick any relevant information from it. That landed us here. So when they don't pay, when we don't see the money around 4 o'clock, we are coming back to this place.
And we are stopping working. Well, so you've heard from the service personnel here who say that by 4 o'clock, if they don't see it, it will continue. And so from me here, Esi Benewanyame, will bring you more on this particular issue.
AC Benewanyame for that update from the National Service Secretariat. She'll bring us some more as and when she gets hold of information from the Secretariat. Well, you're still watching Media Live. Alfredo Kanse is standing by to deliver some business news.